A new poll from ABC, The Washington Post, and Ipsos finds President Trump's approval rating is at an all-time low. 62% of Americans disapprove of President Trump. That's up 2% since February. Political panel time. Republican strategist Tiffany Smiley and Democratic strategist Ameshia are both with us at the table, and it's so great to see you. Tiffany, I want to start with you because these numbers are not good for President Trump. How should him and his team be reading them?
Yeah, it's not uncommon for a president at this moment in his term to have, disapproval ratings that are relatively high or the highest in the term. But let's remember that President Trump has only been in office for a year and 3 months. And the Biden-Harris administration really put us in a bad place on inflation. And I wish we could just flip a switch and turn it off and on, but that's just not how inflation works. President Trump got into office and he's been working day and night to lower costs for hardworking American families. So I'm a mom of 3 boys. I know that I used to walk out of the grocery store with 4 bags. Now I'm walking out with 2 bags and paying the same amount. Moms across the country know this. Prices are up. But I think we need to remember, and Republicans heading into the midterms need to be able to understand where the American people are and say, hey, it was bad. The Biden-Harris administration, put us in a really bad spot, but things are getting better. And President Trump is working to make things better. You think of the no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. People are going to they're going to be getting more money in their pocket in the next few months. So good things are happening. Job reports are higher than expected. Unemployment rates are going down. Things are trending in the right direction. And President Trump, between now and the midterms is 6 months. That's a very, very long time in political terms.
It is. It's like right around the corner, but it's also a lifetime, right?
Yes.
Tiffany's right in that these low approval numbers are not new for a president heading into the first midterms after coming into office. But history has also shown us that when they are low, there's a consequence of losing seats in Congress. How do you think, Ameshia, that Democrats are trying to capitalize on the president's performance in these 6 months?
Well, Democrats are speaking to Trump's policies that have caused a lot of the approval ratings we've seen tank. In large part, what we saw with his tariff strategy that actually increased prices for everyday Americans who were, just going to buy groceries for their kids. They have rerun several of his own personal quotes about needing this war and not having enough money for childcare because we have to be in this war. Americans writ large, whether they're red, blue, purple, or anywhere in between, are not fans of the war in Iran. They are not fans of the cost of it, the billions of dollars a day that it costs. They're also not fans of this president saying that affordability is a hoax. What we know is that prices have gone up. They've gone up significantly. Everywhere from the pump, which is part of the war, which is part of the, equivalent of the war with Iran. We wouldn't have the prices at the pump if we hadn't have gone to war with Iran. But beyond that, it is the cost of groceries. It is healthcare expenses. It is the One Big Beautiful Bill Act did something extraordinary for Trump and his cronies. It put a lot of money in the pockets of already wealthy Americans. But the middle class is shrinking, and the impoverished class continues to grow. We've seen cuts to things like food stamps, where they kicked hundreds of thousands of people off, in addition to Medicaid. And Medicaid is not extended to those who really need it.
But I think not necessarily kicking people off of the
people
program.
got kicked off the rolls who needed this to feed their families. What we know is the overwhelming majority of people who qualify for food stamps are people with young kids in the home. What we also know is that right now, the unemployment rate is still at a place it should not be. And yes, there have been increases, but those are low-wage jobs. Those are not the jobs that allow you to pay your rent and take care of your families. These are things that should be priorities for the president. He said this was a golden age of America. We're wondering when that golden age actually happens and who it's for.
And Tiffany, you just said 6 months is actually a lot of time to turn things around.
Yes.
What is your response here? How can he do that and get the message across that just give me a little more time, things will get better?
Yeah, I think he is doing that. You see him out on the campaign trail. He's going to be out, he said, as if he's running for president, because we know when Donald Trump is at the top of the ticket, people turn out and vote. That will be the challenge for Republicans, because he's not at the top of the ticket, and Republicans have a job or a gap to fill, really, in sharing with the American people that things are going to get better. A lot can happen in 6 months. Gas prices can come down considerably. Grocery prices can come down considerably within the next 6 months. And Democrats really are not in a good place either. They have progressive far left candidates that they continue to back in their party. You have Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, backing the new Senate candidate in Maine, Planter. And that's not going to sell broadly across the country to the American people. So Republicans have a challenge ahead of them, and they need to meet the challenge and make sure that they are sharing the message that things are going to get better.
I want to talk to you both about one Republican plan, because obviously the margins are tight.
Yeah.
And Politico is reporting that some Republicans are trying to recruit Senator John Fetterman to switch parties, and that President Trump would offer an endorsement, even some financial backing. Fetterman has said he's not going to do this, but I wonder if that speaks broader to what does that say about the Democratic Party here and the Republicans' attempt to flip him?
Well, I think that the Republicans are trying to make this overture in large part because John Fetterman has given them votes in many cases. Are talking about in terms of getting some of the Senate appointees across, in terms of getting and ensuring that, President Trump's OBBA bill passed. He has been someone who has stood by a lot of controversial conservative bills, much to the chagrin of those in the Democratic Party. But I don't see him changing his tune anytime soon, because it will water down his effect in large part. I think that he likes seeing himself as somewhat of an independent, of a maverick in this sense. He loses that if he goes Republican. Also, he would only be there as long as it takes them to replace him with an actual Republican. So it doesn't make sense in his calculus.
Yeah, I have long said that John Fetterman perhaps is the only moderate, common sense Democrat that Congress has today. He really cuts through to independents. He makes sense. When you look at where he has aligned with Republicans, he's a strong supporter of Israel. He also was a strong supporter of immigration and securing our border. That's widely popular with people in Pennsylvania and the American people. But you have to wonder if there are perhaps more Democrats that actually align with him, but they just don't want to say the quiet part out loud.
Right.
Because, the Democrats really alienate him and have been quite mean to him. I think they would be smart to partner with him and engage with him.
We will see if that happens. Thank you both for your time. I wish we had more of it. Tiffany Smiley and Ameshia Cross, thanks for being here.